So I'm going to split it up into 5 little sections. And the first section is getting you to think about our emotions, anxiety included. If you think about emotions, they have existed way before you and I were here. And what this means is they've been here since the beginning of time, since there were humans, really. Well, not since the beginning of time, when humans have been evolving. And they will continue to exist until there are no more humans left. What this means is quite empowering in my view. They have always been here, they will always be here, and this means we have to live with them. And this means we have to learn how to manage them. Not getting rid of them, not curing them. It's impossible. They will exist. And they exist because they keep us alive. Anger, anxiety, stress, fear. If you think of anger, it evolved through evolution to help us stay safe and keep our families safe and keep us alive during times where we had to hunt and gather for our food. If we had no anger, how do you think we could expel energy to catch food, to chase after prey, to do all these things which keep us alive? Look at compassion. This dates back to 6 million years ago, where the chimpanzees would help each other across a branch. Compassion then started to form, and now compassion obviously is a huge part of the human condition. Anxiety existed to keep us alive in the wild. Anxiety existed to let us know when we were in danger. That it's like stress, it's like sisters. Let us know when we're in danger to keep us alive. Not just danger as well. Let us know when there was a storm coming. Let us know when there was an immediate threat and we had to take action for our safety. Again, you can use that interchangeably with interchangeably with stress. So this leads on to my first point. Anxiety has existed to keep us alive. So the anxiety signal now, it hasn't changed. The context around anxiety has changed. Anxiety now is under a bracket of many, many, many things. And without knowing you individually, I can't specifically say, well, this may be causing you the anxiety. So I just want you to wrap your head around that. Wrap your head around anxiety isn't here to harm you, cause you distress, put your brain in a state of war or civil war against yourself. It is here to keep you alive. The brain is here for our survival. The brain is here to keep us alive. The brain isn't a foe. The brain is our friend. And the emotions that come with that are to our friend. Are our friend as well. So the first point is anxiety isn't here to harm you. It is to keep you safe and to keep you alive. So that's point number 1. Point number 2, I have got my notebook for today as well. Delayed return environment. So this goes back to what I was saying before, when we were in the wild, when we were hunting, gathering, when we were evolving as a human being. We have a thing called delayed return environment, or we have an immediate return environment. So let me split this up. What was many moons ago was an immediate return environment. So let me give you some examples. Let's say there was a storm approaching right now, and I had to have a body signal to let me know that there was possibly going to be some danger. So what I had to do was take immediate action for my survival and safety. So what I would do is, find a bush, find a tree, build a little den, is that right? Build something to keep my family and myself alive. So the anxiety signal was, you are in danger. So I registered that and then took action, found shelter. Anxiety was then muted because I took action, and it was an immediate return in the environment that I was in. Let's give another context. Let's give something from tribes. Let's say tribes were communicating. We were in tribes, in indigenous peoples, they will have a campfire and they will all gather round and tell stories and dance and pray to some level. But everyone would gather as a community and as a social engagement. So if someone in the tribe had something going on, was causing them anxiety, although there could have been conflict within the tribes members, all the tribes people would gather round, speak and hear what was going on, speak about the anxiety. So they were getting the anxiety message because there was conflict in the tribe. The immediate return on that was them speaking to the other tribe members about it, to hopefully help dissolve and dissipate the situation. And what ended up happening was now anxiety was muted because the problem was solved in an immediate return way. This still is in our brain. I'm not speaking very good English today. Did that make sense? This is still in our brain. That makes sense. Today. But there's one big factor here. Our environment isn't like that anymore. Our environment is now a delayed return environment. This means we will get something at a later date. So remember what I just said. The brain is hardwired to adapt and to, deal with an immediate return. So the anxiety signal mutes or gets dissipated pretty much straight away. Now it's much different. Now it's the opposite. It's a delayed return environment. Now let me give some examples for this. If you think about it, you do some work today. You work a 12-hour shift and you do this for a month. A month later, you will get a paycheck. So you're doing the work now. Later on, you're getting a paycheck a month later. So what that can cause is uncertainty. It can cause anxiety. It can cause me, I'm doing all this work, but I haven't seen anything. Remember, the brain wants immediate, but in this case, it's delayed. Let's use another example. Let's say you are in turmoil in a relationship. Let's say that you are under stress, under fire, the relationship is under attack. What you want to do, or what your brain wants to do, is get this solved immediately. But because of circumstances, because of houses, because of stress, because of children potentially, there's a delay here to get this sorted. So the brain wants immediate satisfaction. It wants an immediate return. It wants to be safe immediately. So it's telling you solve, 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 solve. But modern day living, in some cases, and in a lot of cases, it's a delayed return. So you may not solve it for a month, 6 months, potentially even a year. And what does that cause again? Uncertainty, anxiety, stress, all those heavy emotions, because it's a delayed return. So what is designed to be immediate is now a delayed one. So what can we do in this case? Well, control what you can. I don't know if I'm going to have a job in 2 months, 3 months time. I don't know what my paycheck will look like. Yeah, I mean, you probably will, but let's use this for an example. But what I can control is turning up on time. What I can control is my professionalism. What I can control is my work ethic. And this will dissolve and dissipate the feeling of the uncertainty. Let's use that marriage example again. I'm not married, so I'm only giving some suggestions here. Don't take any marriage advice from me. But let's say the brain is saying solve immediately, but it can't be solved until the future because of life circumstances. What you can control, though, is turning up for your children. What you can control is turning up to the gym to help your mindset during this time. What you can control is communication with your spouse, being amicable as opposed to acrimonious. So what you're flipping it to is the uncertainty. What you're flipping it from is uncertainty, anxiety, and stress to present to what you can control. And that dissipates and dissolves that feeling of anxiety. So point number 2 is the brain is hardwired for an immediate return, but modern day living asks for a delayed return, if that makes sense. So the solution for that is control what you can. Control what you can to bring your brain into the present, which will kind of mimic that immediate return. Cool. That was point number 2. Point number 3, communication. So emotions communicate with you, right? It communicates with you with that feeling in your gut. It communicates that anxiety feeling when you wake up in the morning. It communicates, I better check this. This is still on, sorry. We are good. Sorry, I filmed many times this week and my battery has ran out, so I didn't want that to happen today. So yeah, point number 3 is communication. The body will communicate to you, communicate with you, to let you know that something isn't quite right, off balance. Something is in, what's the opposite? Something is opposite to what the human condition is designed to be, and that's homeostasis. Homeostasis means balance, essentially. The body will let you know that you're not in balance by sending you signals of anxiety, of stress, of fear, of uncertainty, of jealousy. All these emotions, the body is letting us know that we are off balance. So we have to consider that. We have to consider what anxiety is actually telling us, as opposed to a lot of people say, solve anxiety for good, mute anxiety forever. It's not correct, because you can't. It's a signal that's letting you know something needs to change. Something needs to change for you to bring back homeostasis, to bring back the balance of the human condition. So point number 3 is listen. Listen to what it's actually telling you. Okay, well, and this isn't hard. Sorry, this is hard. Easier said than done. And this requires practice. You don't just wake up one day and think, well, okay, I'm listening to the anxiety, boom, I know exactly what it is. It takes work, it takes reps. But what I would recommend is start listening. Start listening to the communication that the body is giving you. Well, okay, why am I waking up like this? What happened a few days ago? What's happening? What's my sleep like? And that's another point that I'll get onto. What is going on at work? Is my relationship okay? What's happening subconsciously? Am I truly happy with this diet? Am I with this training program? The body can let you know in a very subtle way. It doesn't have to be very apparent what is causing us the anxiety. So it takes a lot of digging and a lot of work to actually realize, okay, what is this anxiety signal saying? And the rest of the emotions as well. But for today, I'm just talking about anxiety. You know, you can use this with anger and fear and frustration, etc. And what needs to change? That is the biggest question. What do I need to change to help with this anxious feeling? What conversations are you not having? What hard things are you not doing that the body is telling you that you should probably do? And this is a big one. Conversations is huge. Having a conversation with someone which you're putting off. So when I'm in a state of stress or anxiety, I'm thinking, okay, what needs to change or what conversation am I not having? What hard conversation am I putting off? So consider communication, consider these anxious feelings as a sign that something is off balance, a sign that you're not in homeostasis. And like I said, I can't do this as an individual approach. I'm just speaking general, but what I recommend to you all is to ask. Ask daily. Don't just ignore it. Listen and learn. Listen and learn to the cues that your body is giving you. Listen to the anxiety. Listen to really deeply what's happening. Sit, listen, and hopefully you will get an answer, and as opposed to muting it and forgetting about it. So 3 is communication. The body is here to keep you alive and safe, and it communicates to you saying you may be off balance, so what do you need to change? And then point number, what am I on? 1, 2, 3, is this 4? I think this is point 4. Point 4, sleep. Now, sleep is a funny one because, well, it's not a funny one. Sleep is let's call it a juxtaposition. You're anxious, so you can't sleep. You can't sleep because you're anxious. You have more anxiety because you didn't get a good night's sleep. And there's this vicious circle which happens. So, how can we break that? Now, let me just backtrack a bit. Sleep has been recognized to be a huge cause of anxiety. Some studies even show that a poor night's sleep can induce anxiety by up to 33%. This is huge. This is massive. Now, when I was in a health club, when I was working with one-to-one with like 30 to 35 people every single week, I would ask one question every time that I saw them. Not, how are you? I mean, sounds a little bit harsh, but there's a deeper question that I always asked before that, and that's, how did you sleep? Because if you ask someone how they slept last night, you will get a far better answer than how are you? Because if they had a poor night's sleep, then that changed the context of the whole training session, the whole circumstance about what they were doing, the whole experience, what I was about to take them on. Because if they slept 1 to 2 hours, I was never going to put them under a bar and do heavy squats or deadlifts or get them jumping around. I would then tailor the session around that poor night's sleep. Inversely, if they had a really good night's sleep, then the training session could be hard. The training session could be a pretty intense one. This is because sleep gives such an indicator of other health aspects or other facets of health. So if someone had a bad night's sleep, I can't give a specific percentage. I've never been great at maths, but 90% of the time, let's say, there would be some sort of, self-judgment, self-critical talk, self-sabotage, anxiety, feelings, those anxiety thoughts people have, or doubting themselves. Most of the time, they had a bad night's sleep. So, with all that being said, I've kind of lost the track. That's it. So this is a good point, actually. If you're with people, if you're with friends and family, instead of asking how they are, ask how they slept last night. You're gonna get a good answer. Cool. So sleep can induce anxiety by up to 33%. So keeping this in mind as a practitioner, we want to be able to prioritize our sleep and get as best sleep that we can to reduce the byproduct of a poor night's sleep, which will induce anxiety. So what we want to do is have that proactive mind about sleep. Now, you may be thinking right now, I'm anxious, I just can't sleep. This is fine, and I do understand. I've been there myself. So let's think of sleep, a good night's sleep starting first thing in the morning. And I'm just going to give you 3 sleep tips, which I hope they can help. I pray that they can help. They work for me, they work with thousands of people. So think of sleep as proactive as opposed to reactive. We tend to get to the evening and think, okay, how should I get into a good sleep? The damage may already be done. If you're having coffee at 4 p.m, if you've just had a huge training session, if you are super stressed, if there's conversations you need to have, falling to sleep is going to be pretty hard. So get your mindset in, if you are willing to take the advice. I don't want to ever give unsolicited advice, but try to get your mindset to, okay, as soon as I wake up, a good night's sleep starts now. What this is training your brain to get in the habit of is proactively thinking about your sleep. And the tip number 1 is to try to do some sort of activity first thing in the morning, and try to ideally do this outside. And I understand there's many busy people out there with children and stuff, but just do your best, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes. What I recommend is getting out in sunlight first thing in the morning, but doing some activity out in sunlight, whether that's walking, whether that's a bit of training, a run, something, I don't know, even do some burpees, some squats. This has a twofold effect. You're getting yourself early in the morning, which is helping the cortisol level, which has a communication effect to melatonin later on in the day. Consider cortisol sending a WhatsApp to melatonin saying, okay, cool, we're outside early. This is going to help with the production, so make sure you're producing the melatonin when it starts to get dark. Okay, did that make sense? It's a bidirectional relationship. Think morning has a bidirectional relationship in the evening. I need to start speaking slower, sorry. So that's the first fold effect. Then the second is you're making your body tired. Sometimes, a lot of the time, we get to sleep or go to sleep and we're not that tired. So try to get the body tired. The body will make the mind tired, etc., etc. So try to use the morning as a state of activity and getting outside, because it will have that twofold effect. And but keep this in mind. I know you're busy, so even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, it will all help. Then flipping to the lunchtime tip, remember thinking proactively. Lunch, try to bring your caffeine intake much earlier in the day. I'm talking, if you're having it at 2, try to bring it to noon. If you're having it at noon, try to bring it to 11 or 10. If you're having it at 1, try to bring it to 10, 11. It's up to you, but I try to avoid the afternoon because caffeine has a half-life of around 6 hours. So if you have a 100 milligram cup of coffee at 1 p.m., 6 hours later, you're still going to have 50 milligrams circulating in your bloodstream. 6 hours later, you're still going to have 25 milligrams circulating in your bloodstream. So when your head is on the pillow, you're tired but wired, it could be because of caffeine. So just keep caffeine in mind and bring it earlier in the day as much as possible. Then the last tip is to expel everything from your brain. There's something called the Zeigarnik effect. And the Zeigarnik effect essentially says that unresolved tasks in our mind are easier to remember than completed ones. So the brain works as an open loop and a closed loop. Open loop is those unresolved tasks, the tough conversations, the unfinished work thing. Need to do my taxes. I haven't chatted to my mum and she called me up today. I haven't said goodnight to my girlfriend or boyfriend, and usually I do that. This is the Zeigarnik effect. You have open loops. So when your head is on the pillow, the brain wants to remind you that you have open loops to close. So what you want to do, the obvious solution to this, is close the loops. Close the ones that you can. Have that conversation. Say goodnight to your girlfriend or boyfriend, text them, call them up, whatever. Speak to your mum and dad. Close as many loops as possible. Now, I understand uncertainty and waiting for things are kind of continuous open loops, but to mute the open loops or to soften the open loops out, you can do breath work, you can do meditation, you can do mindfulness, you can speak to a friend, Pavita breath work, by the way. You can soften the loop. You're not going to fully close it, but you're going to soften the intensity of that loop. So the last tip is to clear everything from your mind. You want to close the open loops for your brain to fall asleep much easier. And hopefully you wake up much fresher and with less anxiety. So point number 4 is keep your sleep a top priority. Cool. I think that is it. I think 5, I just put befriend it, but I've kind of said that already. Just become friends with it. It sounds weird, but don't treat it as an enemy. Don't make out that your emotions and your brain, your mind is against you. It's such a complex system that I can't give you, a specific individual answer, but just become friends with it. It's your buddy, it's your mate. It's not there to harm you. Your brain is there to keep you alive. It's to keep you thriving, surviving. That sounded a bit cliche, corny, didn't it? But it's true. The brain is here to keep you alive. Your emotions are here to keep you safe and alive. But unfortunately, they tend to cause us the opposite effect. They cause us more stress, anxiety and stuff. So try to just get into the mind of befriending it, become mates with it, and learn to work together as opposed to, hating on one another. So just to recap, emotions have existed for years, so kind of backs up my last point. Become friends with it. You can never solve emotions, you can only live with them. So learn to manage them, learn to take back control of the mind. Work together with your emotions. Delayed return environment, a lot of our returns are later on, but the brain is designed to have immediate returns. So control what you can, not control every aspect, but control the controllables, if that makes sense. Communication, learn the communication, learn what your body is telling you, learn what your mind is communicating to you, what conversations are you not having, what needs to change, what is not in balance, okay? Remember, the brain wants homeostasis, it wants balance. And then sleep, I was about to say befriend it, it's sleep. Sleep. Prioritize your sleep and you will really notice the anxiety levels. And to prioritize this, do those 3 sleep tips and do the breath work, do the mindfulness, get the mindset under control, but prioritize sleep. Cool. I really hope this helps. I get really excited. I may have spoken a bit fast, but I try to cover everything very quickly and just to give you, I know human attention spans are quite short these days, so I just want to provide as much as possible there to really help you overcome what's in your mind and just help you live better and help you be better physically and mentally. And I really hope these serve you well today. This is everything that has helped thousands of people over the last 8 to 9 years, currently helping people. And I really hope these ones help. Just make sure you action it, practice it, and reach out if it helps. As always, thanks for your time. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you give the show a rating. It would help more than you know. More ratings, more people, and more eyes that this show can see. And as always, I hope this reaches someone random in the world who least expects the help. Thanks, everyone.